This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, ladies and gents. This is a little video just to show you how we are planning to adapt to climate change. So you will remember last week we talked about mitigation. So mitigation is different from adaptation because obviously mitigation is kind of anything that stops the causes of something, whereas adaptation, we're looking at reducing the impacts rather than stopping the causes. So for climate change, reducing the impacts would mean that we are kind of managing things like changing rainfall patterns that cause droughts, flooding, due to sea level rise, increases in extreme weather. So that's what we're talking about managing really when we're talking about adaptation. And one way we can do this is by actually changing the way that we grow our food, so changes to our agricultural system. Because one of the effects of climate change is that there will be changes to temperature and rainfall patterns around the world. So that may mean that some of our farmland that we use around the world becomes unsuitable for us to grow on. So we have to shift how we farm and how we produce our food to manage this. So it might be that we choose to move our food to another location. So we try and grow our food somewhere else. So perhaps instead of growing wheat in the sort of central areas of the United States, it moves more over to areas like Europe. That could be a possibility. Okay, the other thing we might do is increase irrigation. Now, irrigation is when we water our plants. Now, that can be very simple, or it can be a far more complicated system where you have kind of underground pipes and things like that that gradually drip water into the soil. And the other thing we might do is need to change the crops and crop varieties that we grow to respond to the conditions. So, for example, in India, they might have to stop growing rice because they might not be getting such a reliable monsoon season, and they might have to switch over to growing other crops. There's a little link on this presentation which I will send out to you, and I'll put that in our school area. So if you want to look at managing the water supply, there's a little video you can watch on that. And essentially, we need to try and do two things to reduce our water stress. So water stress is when we don't have enough water to meet our demand. So one thing we can do is kind of reduce our demand, and that can be done individually. So people doing things like making sure they turn off the taps when they're brushing their teeth, for example. And the other thing, it can be done on a more kind of national scale. So the government putting in things like water meters so people can monitor their water usage. And that helps us to manage and reduce our demand. Increasing the supply, though, we need to move water from areas where there's lots of water, which we call areas of water surplus, which in the UK would be the northeast. And we might move that to areas where there's water shortage, such as the southeast and London. And again, sea level rise is another issue, and there's another little video which you can look. This video links to Miami and shows you what they are having to do to manage the sea level rise. And essentially managing sea level rise involves us building flood barriers and flood defences in the future. Though that might not be enough. We might have to actually move to places. So places like the Maldives, they are already moving to other areas of the world. Okay, so that is a nice quick overview for you guys, just to give you an idea of what's being done to kind of adapt and evolve to climate change.